What is the process that goes behind a $2 million Facebook ads product launch? That's exactly what I want to unveil in this video. And this is something that we've recently achieved, my team and I, for one of our clients at the agency. Now, if you're new to the channel, you don't yet know who I am. My name is Justin Lalonde, and I'm the founder at paidadvertising.com, where on the one hand, we help businesses implement a scalable ad engine, and on the other, we grow e-com and info businesses to multi-seven figures with paid ads. Now, that being said, in the last year, we've had the chance to oversee and advise on over $15 million in ad spend, and let's get straight into today's video. Now, this is an info product / coaching business. I'll do a whole separate video breaking down the exact case study. Today's just going to be part of it, the overarching structure of how we made this happen, because this is relevant for anybody who's doing like an e-commerce product launch, or perhaps an in-person event, or something that has like a ticking timer, if you want, where there's like an actual release date or like an event happening. And the way you run ads for something like this is entirely different than an evergreen collection or an evergreen product, because evergreen means it's not going to be turned off, right? Whereas in this case, like ads are going to have to be turned off on a given day. So this could also work as an example for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, because that too, again, has a specific date in mind for the big day. So kind of going back, we onboarded this client in November of 2024. And that being said, this was in preparation for a launch on January 1st, meaning our ad cycle was beginning as of January 1st. And we were going to be running ads from Jan 1st to Jan 20th, and then stopping the ads and then running ads again for about a week to 2 weeks of period of time, a second time, and then stopping them for good. So I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. So that being said, we had about a month and a half out from January 1st in order to prepare. Now, when doing a big launch like that, and typically when having a shorter sales cycle where we could only run ads for about 2 weeks at a time, means you got to get ready in advance with a lot of ad creatives, okay? So what we did initially is we went through a research process. Every client that we have at the agency, we build what's called a research center, by which we start looking into the persona, the avatar, the possible ad angles, their desires, awareness levels, questions they're asking themselves at different awareness levels. We then did a full ad account audit. They had already ran ads in the past, so we looked into what were the top performing ads, extracting the video scripts from those, looking into who was the persona, what was the mass market desire, what was the type of creative, right? A lot of which were podcast style videos as an example that we noticed, so on and so forth, okay? So that took maybe a week and a half, about give or take, for us to have like all of this data. From there, met with the client, aligned on the overall, observations and strategy that we made, and started scripting. Typically what we did in this case is, knowing that we were going to have to spend about $200,000 was the goal to spend in about 20 or so days. We wanted to have more creatives than enough. So we ended up scripting about 34 scripts internally for us to then send to the client to record. Now, I say scripts when I talk about that is, this is a personal brand backed business. So there's a face to the brand, okay? So we did a lot of scripts in that time period. In about 2 weeks, again, 30 plus scripts were written and then sent to the client. Some of which, by the way, were dynamic creative tests. So we had variables in them. Total, we had close to 50 ads ready before January 1st, okay? So the way by which we did it is we collaborated with a content agency that the client was working with that had a physical studio. So we wrote the scripts, sent it to the content agency, client shows up in the studio, records, then the content agency sends us the raw files from the shoot, then we edit them and turn them into actual ad creatives, write some pieces of ad copy and whatnot. So typically what you want to do is, and what we did in this case is, the first couple of days of that launch, okay, we had ads at a lower budget than what we wanted the overall daily budget to be at. So our goal was, again, spending $200,000 in about 20 days and to get a $10 cost per lead. So that was the goal, getting about 20,000 leads in 20 days. Now, what is it that we did internally? Well, what we decided to do is to start the first couple of days. So launch every ad creative that we had and launch them at a slightly lower budget to see which ones would pick up more naturally in terms of ad spend and results, for which we did that for the first 3 full days. So we gave creatives 3 days, spent about $5,000 a day, give or take, during that time period. So you can understand that we were a little late on budget schedule. I say late with quotes because, again, this was all part of the plan. And then from there, after 3 days, what we noted was which ad got spent, allocated naturally by Facebook, and which one actually was positive in its KPIs. And from there, we extracted all of those ads into a scaling campaign and put those in there. We let the original campaign live for a couple of days just to see if any other ads would pick up. And then we started scaling aggressively on the actual scaling campaign itself to make up for the quote unquote loss in budget at the start. And we're spending about $13,000 a day, give or take, from that time onwards. So what you want to do, again, like kind of the first lesson here, is you want to front load more ads than needed, launch them all at the same time, give them a couple of days at a slightly lower budget to see which ones perform best. So think of it as like fast testing. And from there, any sort of winning ad, put them into a scaling campaign and really ramp up the budget on there, which that campaign, again, being a CBO campaign, to make that clear. Targeting obviously broad in this case, as we do for every other account. So then, give or take about a week in from launching those ads, we started killing off all the underperformers that, were getting either very little ad spend or no ad spend whatsoever and weren't, within KPI. So in that case, what that does is it frees up more budget for all of our winning ads. And in that case, it also just simply consolidates the account further, so much more simple, which typically enhances performance. Now, we gradually kept scaling up the performing ads in our winning CBO campaign. And what we did is, as time progressed, we started adding a lot of static ads that we had in the backlog. So those static ads specifically, essentially, as we were getting closer and closer to the event. So some of these ads were more urgency-based ads. So it was like the face of the brand, the face of the founder, if you want, talking about, hey, join us for our live challenge, only 48 hours left, so on and so forth. So static ads or testimonial ads also that we started adding in there just increased this kind of urgency. The more our ads went on, the more we assumed that people were getting more and more familiar with the brand. And so the more kind of lower in the funnel. So when I say that, I mean product and most of our ads, therefore static ads, which are typically easier to do for a product or most of our audience. The more of these types of ads we started adding to the account, again, as we were getting nearer to the quote unquote end date. And so that first 20-day of ad cycle was running ads to a challenge funnel. Then once the challenge ended, there was another, give or take, about a week to 2 weeks of ads running for a webinar funnel. That one spent about $100,000 on ads in that time period. Then the goal of both the challenge and the webinar was to push people to an in-person event, so ticket sales. And then leading up to the event in itself, we spent a couple $1,000s, nothing too crazy, to have, once again, either testimonial video ads or a lot of static ads, adding urgency, and kind of e-commerce ads, if you want, just going straight for a ticket sale from there. So all in all, leading up to the big day itself, we spent, give or take, $300,000 on ads, collected about $400,000 in ticket sales. So a slight profit on the actual ticket sales themselves. And then at the event, pitched a $10,000 back-end offer and converted for $2.17 million worth of customers in that room. So adding the event ticket sales to the revenue made in that room during the event, give or take, we're talking a 2.5 million launch during that time. So again, this is a very different style of advertising than what I'm used to speaking on the channel, and frankly also used to doing. But that being said, this is primarily for, as I mentioned at the start, either like a product launch or a specific event, promotion, or any of that. It's like, this is something that's timely. And so the general lesson here is front load your creatives, launch with more creatives than needed, then give them at a lower budget for 2 to 3 days to do like a fast-paced testing. Only extract essentially the ones that are showing promising results from the start, put them into a scaling CBO campaign, keep everything live for a little bit. After a full week of having everything live, then start killing off underperformers in the respective campaigns, and now really scale up from there. As time progresses, add statics that are mostly like product or most aware static ads to either add urgency or start getting the low hanging fruits to convert in the funnel as the event progresses. Now, I'm talking here in weeks, but if you have a shorter sales cycle, like as an example, we're talking about a 4-day weekend event or something like that, all of this just would happen at a much faster pace. Like I would do day 1, you launch at a slightly lower budget. Day 2, you extract your winners and you already kill off all the underperformers. And then, day 3, I would add the statics. And day 4, you kind of keep everything, that's working, kill off everything else. And then, scale up as much as you can, because the closer you get towards the end date, typically the more people will convert, because again, there's a natural urgency factor in play with an event like this one. So with that being said, I'll release a whole separate video that will break down in further detail this case study on the channel. But I hope this was useful, at least as a general structure for how to handle either a product launch or an event when it comes to your ads, and how slightly different the ad process is for something like that versus an evergreen campaign. So with that said, if you're an e-commerce or info product business wanting to work with a paid ads partner on Meta, Google, or TikTok, I invite you to click the first link in the description down below to book in a call with myself and the team at paidadvertising.com today. And on that note, if you want to work one-on-one with me to have me review your funnel, offer, backend, name it, then check out a second link down below to join our Ad Engine one-on-one consulting program. So with that said, I wish you an amazing day. Check out other videos on the channel for some more useful e-commerce marketing tips, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.